movie fans. So have you ever walked into a movie not really knowing what to expect, or your expectations really aren't that high for a movie, but yet you walk out just amazed and really pleasantly surprised at what you saw? That's actually what's happened to me numerous times, and today I'm counting down the top 5 pleasant surprises that I've had in a movie. Whether that be my expectations weren't that high for the movie, or I didn't really know what to expect when it came to this movie and I was pleasantly surprised by the outcome. At number 5 we have Hugo. Now Martin Scorsese is a phenomenal director, but when you say Martin Scorsese, your immediate thought is not family-friendly films. They're Wolf of Wall Street, Gangs of New York, not really movies that you're gonna just bring the family together and then have a good time with. They're phenomenal films, but really not the cleanest, I'll go with that. So when Martin Scorsese said that he was going to be doing a family-friendly film, I was just like, really? And from all the trailers, I really wasn't that hooked. But a couple friends of mine told me, hey, you really need to see Hugo, you really need to see Hugo. For a while there, I just kind of blew them off, thinking, I don't really know about this. So I eventually just sat down and watched it, and just, wow, it is gorgeous. Now, Hugo, I will admit, it is not for everybody, but it is definitely, in my mind, a love letter to movie fans. This is a love letter to film as a whole. Martin Scorsese is a diehard film person. That's why he's a director. And this really showed in this movie. It was made with passion and care. Won't go too much into the plot, but it's basically looking at a specific time period in film history itself and looking at it in a more like romanticized version of that time period, and just looking at more or less the creation of film and how it has inspired generations and how you can be inspired by the smallest things if you're really passionate about something. And Hugo was just a gorgeous film across the board. Beautiful to look at, just a great story and fascinating. Really not what I expected at all. So Martin Scorsese, you could definitely do more family-friendly stuff if you wanted, or if not, it doesn't matter to me. You got your millions to rely on. Who am I to judge? But Hugo, absolute success that I did not see coming at all. At number 4, we have Moneyball. Now, I'm a huge baseball fan, and I knew about sabermetrics and like the advanced statistics that are in baseball, and I kind of knew about Moneyball. Like, I had read the book recently, and I thought it was spectacular. And so when I got done with the book, I heard that they were making it into a movie, and my first thought was like, what, really? Like a documentary? Because it seemed more fit for a documentary than it was for a feature film. And when I heard Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt were on board, I was like, I don't know about this. This doesn't really seem like Moneyball, but wow. Like, Moneyball is a book based off of actual events that took place in the Oakland A clubhouse, basically revolutionizing the game of baseball forever. And so I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, this movie was a perfect translation from what was written in the book. And it really translated well onto the screen, from the scenes in the clubhouse where the scouts are just talking scout stuff, and the lingo that they used was exactly what was in the book, exactly what clubhouse life is like. Plus, it was one of the earliest looks at Chris Pratt. Yeah, Chris Pratt's in Moneyball, like before he got all Jurassic World on us. Brad Pitt actually really killed it as Billy Beane. Like, I didn't think, because they really have no physical similarities, but Brad Pitt really like captured the intricacies of Billy Beane and like his mentality and his personality. And Jonah Hill, while the name has changed for really funny reasons, it's a long story, but basically the real life version of the character Jonah Hill was playing thought that Jonah Hill was portraying him too geeky. So there's something for you. You might want to open your eyes on that one, real life person. But Jonah Hill really, this was like one of his first serious roles, and he did fantastic in it as Peter Brand. That's not the real guy's name in real life, but whatever. He was really good in it, and it's absolutely a must-watch for any baseball fan. And I was expecting it good, but this is definitely one of the best baseball movies I've ever seen, and I was very pleasantly surprised by Moneyball. At number 3, we have Adjustment Bureau. Now, Adjustment Bureau, I was definitely looking forward to. There was some interesting trailers, but it wasn't what I expected at all. Like, a very unexpected twist. Not so much twist, but it was a different style than what I was led to believe. The trailers made it seem like it was this really action-adventure, intense thriller. Like, the next Born, something like that, because it starred Matt Damon. But what I got out of it, it was much slower, and I was actually okay with that. It's basically about this guy, Matt Damon, who falls in love with this woman, Emily Blunt. But there's other forces that don't want these two to meet. It's not so much a love story as it is, I don't really know what to describe it as, actually. It truly is one of a kind. It's not so much an action-adventure as it is more of an allegorical think piece. It's definitely an allegory for some stuff, and it really causes you to think. It's also the first film I ever saw Anthony Mackie in. He's aka Falcon in the new Marvel movies, who's one of my favorite Avengers. I'll just go with that. He's really good in this movie. The performances are absolutely spectacular. It's more or less just a giant metaphor for, are we predestined for what we do, or do we actually have choices in what we do? It's a very clever and original story that I honestly didn't see coming. And I really applaud them for getting me hooked in with this action premise. And while there was some action in it, it was more story focused, and I cared about the characters in such a good way. So it was an overall very pleasant experience going to this movie not knowing what to expect. At number 2, we have the Lego Movie. Now, as a kid, I really loved Legos. Who didn't? And so when all the trailers and stuff came out for the Lego Movie, I was just like, I'll see it because it's Legos and it's a kid's movie, why not? And so the person that took me to see this movie, who is very special to me, they actually were just like, I called dibs, I'm taking you to see Lego Movie. And at the time, I wasn't really sold on the Lego Movie. I was just like, and whatever, I'll see it. And so we saw it. We were like the only ones about our age there. There's a whole bunch of kids. And by the end of it, I'm pretty sure I was the one in the theater that enjoyed it the most. I was squealing like a little kid. It was just so much fun. I turned to the person that took me, and I was just like, I'm sorry, you went on a date with my inner 9-year-old tonight. They didn't seem to mind at all, but it was just fantastic. Like, the voice work was just spectacular. It was really funny. I can't remember laughing at a kid's movie harder. And so I go back and tell my friends, you gotta see a Lego Movie, you gotta see a Lego Movie. And they're just like, really? Lego Movie? And so we see it the next day, and they're just like, we're sorry we ever doubted you, we're seeing it next weekend. Sure enough, we did! I saw it that first day, the second day, saw it next weekend, and I'm pretty sure I saw it the weekend after that. I just love Lego movies so much. And generally, when you have such a heavy product placement movie like the Lego Movie, it's just there to make money. But the Lego Movie, you felt like they actually tried. They had a connection to the Lego franchise. Like, you could tell they grew up playing with Legos, with their attention to detail and the care that they put into stuff. Plus, there was some real emotion. Like, the last third of the movie was pretty well done and emotional. I really applauded the directors and the writers for what they did with the movie. It was a pleasant surprise that I didn't see coming. Now, Lego Movie 2, now the bar has been set very, very high for you. So, best of luck that you live up to my expectations. Hopefully you can get Phil Lord and Chris Miller to come back and work some magic for part 2. At number 1, we have Warrior. Now, Warrior is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I didn't think it would be, actually. So, this movie came out around September, and there wasn't a huge ad campaign. Like, I got this shirt for free at a concert just to get the name out there, and I was just like, whatever, I like fight movies. Rocky is like some of my favorite fight movies of all time. I like any form of like boxing, UFC, those type of fight movies. I think those are really engaging stories. So I just go into this thinking it's going to be a stereotypical guy beats up another guy for honor, pride, whatever. That is not the case at all. The fighting takes a back seat to everything else. Now, don't get me wrong. The fighting in this is spectacular. Like, these guys, I don't want to mess with any of them. You got the guy that played Bane in Dark Knight Rises being even more terrifying than he was as Bane. Like, this guy, there's a scene where he knocks the guy out, and the look in his eyes, I'm just like, okay, I'm backing off. Nope, too intense. He's an interesting character. This is the movie that really convinced me that Tom Hardy is a great actor. But he, for me, is not who steals the show. Joel Edgerton, who played Uncle Owen in episodes 2 and 3 of Star Wars, yeah, somebody's career actually got started out of the Star Wars prequels. I know, I can't believe it. He was fantastic in this movie. So the basic premise is there's these two guys who enter a big UFC, which is mixed martial arts fighting tournament, for the grand prize money. One for his family, as they are basically going broke and about to lose their home, and the other one for other reasons that I'm not going to say or else it'll spoil the movie. And so but it's a noble cause. So they both enter this tournament, and it's really emotionally charged. Like, most fighting movies, you just want to get ahead to the fighting, get to the action-packed parts, and you just anxiously wait for that. This, I didn't care so much about the fighting because I was so invested in the characters. They were very good characters, like, I can get behind. There's really broken characters, but they all find some form of redemption. And it's really interesting. It's a family story about struggle, and it's a real life feel to it. Like, none of it feels overly dramatic. It feels like something that would actually happen. So naturally, without going into too much detail, the two brothers are fighting each other in the final round of this tournament, and that is one of the best fights I have ever seen in a movie. Holy cow, these guys leave everything on the line, and that final round is emotionally charged. Just wow. This movie is spectacular. I watch it a couple times a year. It's so good. I went into this movie thinking it was just going to be like every other fight movie. You just see a couple guys get beat up. I walked out of this movie just amazed at the fantastic storytelling that worked its way into the fighting. Fighting took a back seat, and that's really hard for me when you go into a fighting movie and you don't care about the fighting because everything else is so well done. From the music, the directing, the acting, it's all fantastic. If you have not seen Warrior, do it now. It is absolutely one of the best surprises you will ever see. Well, what are some of your best pleasant surprises you've ever seen when you see the movies? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you'd like what you see and you want to see more, subscribe to the channel or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at 17 Movie Reviews. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals.